Well, a very good afternoon to you. Thanks for clicking on to today's edition of Vogan'S Views in the USA for the 7th. It's Monday, and we have seen what seems like weeks now of tremendous heat, humidity, which has dominated Texas up through Oklahoma, and that's extended through the mid-south and the southeast. Now, over the next 7 days, folks, we're going to be seeing some changes taking place as we start to see this heat, this blowtorch heat over Mexico start to work its way northwards up the western flank of North America. As high pressure builds, that will in fact start to drop a trough into the northern plains through the central and into the southern plains. As it does so, we're going to be drawing a front southwards, and of course with warmth and humidity surging northwards as that front sweeps south, trying to raise that warmth over the south and central plains. We're going to be talking about yet more big rains, big drought-busting rains for Texas over the next several days. Now let's skip this off the ECMWF chart, the upper level chart. You can see the high pressure starting to work its way northwards over the western flank of the country. So we're going to be seeing a relaxation of that very active storm pattern across the Pacific Northwest, shutting that storm track down, forcing it northwards. And in fact, we're going to be seeing an upper level low trek southeastwards through south and central parts of the plains. And at the same time, on the backside of this, watch the heat build up, and it will certainly produce 70s along the California coast, 80s into the coastal valleys and canyons, and 90s and low 100s across the desert southwest. So we're going to be talking about plenty of warm weather over the next few days. You can see the heat rising northwards into the Pacific Northwest. We're going to be seeing 70s across the I-5 corridor up and down between Seattle and Portland, and you see that warmth working all the way up through parts of Alberta into Saskatchewan as well. And at the same time, look at how the colours are starting to change into a more paler colour. As opposed to those deep reds, we are seeing the paler colours indicative of that trough working southwards into the southern plains. And like I said to you, the emergence between the cool dry air working down through the plains, the warmth and the humidity working northwards, that will spark off big heavy thunderstorms, especially into the afternoon hours where you've got that peak heating, really destabilising that air mass. As the afternoon wears on, we're going to be seeing some warmth over the eastern part of the country, but certainly it's going to be warm, humid, with showers and thunderstorms extending from Texas up through the Ohio Valley and into the interior and northeastern part of the country. Wednesday into Thursday, you can see here the heat expanding, 80s, perhaps even some 90s across parts of the Great Basin. You can see the upper level trough, a little cool pocket here. That will set off showers, thunderstorms, and intensifying the rains across the southern plains. And you can see here the next system working into the Pacific Northwest. So the next 2 to 3 days, enjoy those 70s, folks, across the corridor between Seattle and Portland. You folks are going to be seeing a trough, cooler air, and wet and windy conditions return by Thursday into Friday. You can see here the warmth trying to work its way up and over top of this upper level low. So the cold pocket of air sits over West Texas. Big rains continue. Notice the trough over the eastern part of the country. We're going to be seeing cooler conditions, drier conditions working its way through. And of course, around the base of this trough, folks, and with the upper level low supporting the unstable setup, we're going to be seeing warmth and a bucket load of moisture working its way in through the Gulf of Mexico into West Texas. Big storms and plenty of wet weather to speak of across this part of the country over the next several days. Friday and into Saturday, you can see here that the trough works its way eastwards. As it does so, you notice the big trough over and up and down the eastern coast. And what we will see is a continuation of the rains over Texas, Oklahoma. That will continue to produce potentially flooding conditions, but it's all eyes here, folks, on the desert southwest and southern California. Now, as we work through the next several days, this is of course by next weekend, watch what happens. We have a major heat building into the western flank of the country. At the same time, we've got a continuation of cooler conditions across the plains eastwards through the Ohio Valley and the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast. At the same time, as we progress into next week, we have the potential for the first major heat wave of the season so far. Look at the reds showing itself, pumping all the way from the western deserts of Mexico up through Arizona, New Mexico, southern and central California, through the Great Basin. You're going to be talking about 100-degree heat surging potentially from the deserts of the southwest up through the Great Basin. We can be talking very, very hot weather into next week. But Tuesday, look at the reds, look at the ridge of high pressure building northwards. Look at how the yellows are showing up over Texas, so the cool conditions will continue through the next 10 days for Texas, Oklahoma, up into the Central Plains, while we see potentially 90s, maybe even some near 100-degree heat from San Diego up through LA, through portions of the Central Valley of California, working its way up towards southern Oregon and Washington over the next 7 to 10 days here. Tuesday and the Wednesday, you can see that the ridge of high pressure are firmly in control. Gone is the marine layer, gone is the cool weather, wet weather, windy weather. It's all going to be dominated by sunshine and very hot conditions throughout next week. So folks across the west, if you are looking forward to some warm, dry, sunny weather, you've got that to look forward to in the next in the week, and particularly in the next week. Keep checking back and I'll keep you up to date. Have a great day, folks. Bye bye.